new scheme aimed at restructuring rice industry to be announced soon. Malaysia first approach can alleviate national currency. Good evening and salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight and I'm Mohammed Amin Carlos. His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim, the King of Malaysia, expressed hope that attention and allocation for development would be distributed fairly to all towns in the 13 states in Malaysia. While the King said if all states could be developed together, the migration of people to big cities could be reduced and congestion would be better controlled.
Pembangunan ekonomi di Kuala Lumpur dan Putrajaya telah membuka banyak peluang pekerjaan dan menyebabkan perhijrahan penduduk dari negeri-negeri lain ke kawasan wilayah persekutuan. Oleh sebab itu, kerajaan terpaksa membangunkan infrastruktur awam yang lebih cekap untuk mengatasi kesesakan jalan raya dan memenuhi keperluan penduduk bandar raya yang semakin padat. Persoalannya, adakah kerajaan wilayah ini ditadbir secara terus oleh kerajaan persekutuan? Banyak peruntukan pembangunan ditumpukan pada 3 wilayah ini sahaja.
Sultan Ibrahim also called on the Kuala Lumpur City Hall to constantly monitor cleanliness in its areas and reminded all Malaysians not to litter. In conjunction with Ramadan, His Majesty also advised all Muslims in the country not to be wasteful when spending on iftar meals and when preparing for Eid al-Fitr celebrations. Well, a new scheme aimed at restructuring the rice industry will be announced soon. Agriculture and Food Security Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu said intensive consultation is currently being done with all relevant stakeholders, including paddy farmers, associations, suppliers and wholesalers, to get their feedback.
Sebab itu libat uruskan secara intensif kita sedang lakukan. Sudah kita buat dengan para petani, persatuan peladang, semua memberi pandangan-pandangan mereka. Semuanya itu kita akan umumkan masa terdekat 2-3 hari ini satu skim baru. Tapi jangka panjangnya itu lebih daripada penstrukturan semula han beras dan padi negara dan semua terlibat termasuk.
He said this in Parliament today, explaining the extra measures taken to ensure that there was enough supply of local white rice in the market. Commenting on the polemics regarding the lack of local white rice in the market, well, he said that it would remain problematic if the national rice stock remains low. In a related development, the government, through the National Action Council on Cost of Living, or NACO, has agreed the retail price of imported white rice will be reduced by 2 ringgit to 3 ringgit effective tomorrow. Well, Agriculture and Food Security Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu, through a release statement today, said with the current price being around 38 to 45 ringgit for a 10-kilogram pack of imported white rice, it is expected to drop to 35 ringgit following the announced adjustment in price. The decision was finalized at today's NACO meeting. Well, he added the government also decided that all current rice stocks totaling 140,000 metric tons purchased by millers needed to be processed and made available to local markets immediately to boost rice distribution. Datuk Seri Muhammad also shared that the government had agreed that all government contracts would use imported white rice and that would ensure that the additional 20,000 metric tons of imported white rice would be fully distributed by April. Well, Perak has requested to be excluded from the moratorium on the export of non-radioactive rare earth elements, or NRE, according to Datuk Sri Sahrani Mohammed. Now, the Menteri Besar said he had expressed his stand on the matter at a recent meeting between Menteris Besar and Chief Ministers with the Prime Minister.
Hasil dah ada, nak jual ke mana? Jadi kerana itu kita minta kementerian supaya pertama ada moratorium, iaitu ada pengecualian kepada negeri Perak untuk kami mengeksport sehingga wujud dasar ditetapkan oleh kementerian. Atau yang kedua, pihak kementerian kenalah menubuhkan satu entiti yang menjadi pembeli kepada hasil NRE ini.
He said this after launching the Perak State Agriculture Development Corporation, or SADC, pre-order Aidil Fitri Rahmah sales. During the event, Datuk Sri Sahrani also launched SADC's Perak Agro-Tourism Carnival 2024. The Menteri Besar was asked to comment on Minister Nik Nazmi Nik Ahmad's statement in the Parliament last week that all state governments have been reminded to comply with the moratorium on the export of NRE, which has been in effect since 1st January. He had said that a reminder letter on the matter had been issued to all state governments on 6 March. Nik Nazmi had said that during the cabinet meeting, the Prime Minister had stressed that all state governments must abide by the existing policies, especially related to NRE export mining operations, which fall under the government's jurisdiction. The Pulau Pinang Royal Malaysian Customs Department foiled an attempt to smuggle in white cigarettes estimated to be worth 1.8 million ringgit in a container during an inspection in Port Klang, Selangor on 7th of March. Now, State Customs Director Roslan Ramli said the inspection was conducted when the container anchored at the port at about 10:40 a.m. Well, met by reporters today, he said upon further inspection, 900 boxes containing 9 million sticks of white cigarettes worth about 1.8 million ringgit with a total tax of 6.12 million ringgit were discovered.
Kontainer ini nak dibawa masuk ke Malaysia lah. Kita tak dapat pasti di mana, tapi kita tangkap di Pelabuhan Kelang. Tapi saya percaya rokok-rokok yang ada ni kemungkinan besar untuk digunakan oleh orang-orang yang berada di tapak pembinaan ataupun di kawasan-kawasan ladang. Sebab kita tengok rokok ni jarang ada di pasaran. Kita jarang tengok dia punya brand ni.
Commenting further, Roslan said based on the documents obtained, the container, which originated from a Southeast Asian country, was managed by a shipping company with a branch in Port Klang and imported by a company based in Selangor. He said that investigations found that the modus operandi of the syndicate is to declare the items as furniture to avoid detection by the authorities. Further investigations are underway to track down the suspects involved in the smuggling activities. Well, he said, adding that the case was being investigated under the Customs Act 1967 and the Excise Act 1976. Well, RHB Investment Bank Berhad, or RHBIB, has maintained its neutral stance on Malaysia's telecommunications sector while expecting the 5G base to continue growing, supported by new 5G plans in the market and the influx of more lower-priced mobile phones. So, in a note today, the research house said that with consumer and retail use cases still lacking, 5G monetization would remain a challenge for the industry in the medium term. Well, nonetheless, RHBIB expects the 5G population base to continue growing, supported by new 5G plans in the market, which offer larger data quotas, the influx of more lowered-price 5G mobile phones, and the expanded coverage. The investment bank also expects the tight competition in the mobile segment to persist, with the focus on fixed mobile bundling and upselling 5G services. Well, yesterday, Ookla, a global leader in connectivity intelligence, said that Malaysia continues to lead the Southeast Asia in terms of 5G network performance, with the country's 5G median download speed at 451.79 megabytes per second, or Mbps, which is higher than the download speed of Singapore, Thailand and the Philippines. But nevertheless, it noted that despite the increase, Malaysia is still lagging behind its neighbours such as Singapore and Thailand, which have 53.8% and 45.5% 5G availability, respectively, slightly higher than the Philippines at 26.2%. Still ahead in our business segment, Malaysia Trade Commissioner's Office expanded to improve trade ties. Well, in dealing with the issue of the value of the ringgit, all parties should play their respective roles, and Malaysians are expected to adopt a Malaysia First attitude as daily consumers. And Finance Minister too, Dato' Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan, said buying Malaysian goods and services as well as invest in unit trusts and domestic hedge investments could alleviate the national currency.
Kempen melancong dalam negara dan beli barangan tempatan telah ditingkatkan kerana ia membantu dalam memperkukuhkan nilai ringgit serta menambah baik prestasi ekonomi. Bagi menggalakkan kemasukan pelancongan luar negara, kerajaan mengambil langkah antaranya mengecualikan visa selama 30 hari untuk pelancong daripada China, India mulai Disember 2023.
Speaking in Parliament today, Dato' Sri Amir Hamzah added that the government also controls overseas investment by private companies to reduce pressure on the ringgit. This includes encouraging them to prioritise domestic investment and delaying new overseas investment. Adding to that, Dato' Sri Amir Hamzah said the government has always taken a cautious approach to reforming the national tax system. Well, he said that although there is a need to grow the country's revenue, the government needs to balance that desire by taking into account the need to protect the people from excessive burdens.
Reformasi melalui belanjawan 2024 adalah langkah yang menyokong usaha kerajaan madani memperkukuhkan asas fiskal dan membawa ekonomi negara ke landasan yang lebih baik. Satu contoh reformasi percukaian adalah kenaikan cukai perkhidmatan daripada 6 ke 8% yang berkuasa pada 1 Mac 2024 yang menumpukan kepada aktiviti berkaitan perkhidmatan kemahuan ataupun discretionary.
The minister said the increase in service tax does not involve services that are a basic need and part of the people's lifestyle. In addition, he said the government had also enacted the Public Finance and Fiscal Responsibility Act 2023, which came into effect on January 1st, 2024, so that the government could deal with its fiscal governance issues. He also said that Malaysia practices an anti-cyclical economic policy in which the Ministry of Finance regulates fiscal policy through the Treasury and monetary policy through Bank Negara Malaysia, so that both policies would ensure the level of national economic growth remained stable. Well, Dato' Sri Amir Hamzah said these are implemented through intervention policies to hinder the economic cycle from growing too slowly or too fast. Well, the Ministry of Transport, the MOT, takes note of views or studies regarding Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, as reference and advice in improving services at the airport, according to its Minister, Anthony Loke. Well, it said MOT knows there are some weaknesses at KLIA, but the Ministry will try its best to upgrade the airport. Loke said that there are currently several ongoing projects to upgrade the airport.
Kedudukan ranking KYE ini kita ambil daripada ranking yang lebih berkaliber, Skytrax. Okay, I think that is the more authority in terms of airport ranking. So we are not saying that we are defensive. Kita tahu bahawa ada kelemahan dalam terminal 1 kita, ada kekurangan di lapangan terbang kita. Kita nak tambah baik dan kita akan cuba membuat seberapa yang boleh.
He said this to reporters after a mock check presentation ceremony to Tunku Abdul Rahman University of Management and Technology, or TAR UMT, today. Loke was commenting on a report by a business portal that's business financing, which said KLIA ranked 8th in the list of the worst airports in Asia with a total score of 3.36 given by business travelers. Well, according to the report, one of the reasons why KLIA's performance declined was due to the lack of comfortable facilities at the airport, and tourists often complain about the poor design of KLIA Airport, resulting in long queues and having to walk a long way to get to the terminal. The Northern Corridor Implementation Authority, NCIA, in collaboration with the Kedah State Government, recorded 11.6 billion ringgit in realised investments for the state in 2023. So in a statement today, NCIA, the Development Authority for the Northern Corridor Economic Region, or NCER, said the realised investments have created over 3,400 job opportunities in 2023. So its NCIA Chief Executive Officer Muhammad Haris Kadir Sultan attributed the success to close and continuous cooperation with stakeholders, including the federal government, the state government, and their agencies. Well, he said the recorded investments comprise key sectors outlined in the NCER's Strategic Development Plan, namely manufacturing, agriculture, logistics, digital economy, and tourism. He also noted that the NCIA intends to leverage the strategic advantages of the NCER by collaborating with neighbouring countries such as Thailand via the Malaysia-Thailand Special Border Economic Zone, or SBEZ initiative. Muhammad Haris said the cross-border advantages hold significant potential for attracting foreign investments and accelerating economic progress in the northern region. Meanwhile, Kedah Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Muhammad Sanusi Madnor said the achieved value surpassed the initial target set by NCIA, which was 8.8 billion ringgit. Well, he added that this success served as an indicator of industry players' confidence in Kedah's future potential. Well, Malaysian External Trade Development Corporation, MATRADE, has expanded the Malaysia Trade Commissioner's office in Paris to improve Malaysia's trade ties with France, Spain, Portugal and Monaco. Now, Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said this market is under the jurisdiction of MATRADE Paris. So elaborating further through a post on his X account today, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul said Malaysia is serious in its efforts to increase international trade. He added that he is also confident that the expansion of the MATRADE Paris office will strengthen efforts to bring industry players in the country, or rather in the countries under its jurisdiction, closer to Malaysian companies. In 2023, France emerged as Malaysia's third largest trading partner with the EU, with bilateral trade totaling 3.41 billion euros, or convert that €1 is equivalent to 5 ringgit and 14 cents. Now, Malaysia exported 1.25 billion euros worth of goods to France and imported 2.16 billion euros. Now, major exports from Malaysia to France include electrical and electronic products, petroleum products, machinery, equipment and processed food. Now, the main imports from France to Malaysia consist of transport equipment, chemicals, machinery, electrical products and beverages. The efficient execution of development plans, such as the National Energy Transition Roadmap, or NETR, and the New Industrial Master Plan, NIMP, are vital ingredients to lure German investments to Malaysia. Bauer Group Asia's senior analyst Daryl Tan said among the areas German firms are targeting abroad is the renewable energy sector, for which Malaysia has the potential to emerge as a regional champion. So Berlin is pushing for energy diversification as the Russia-Ukraine war has led to high electricity prices and increasing costs for German firms. So when analysing Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ibrahim visit to Germany last week, well, Tan said Malaysia itself is pushing for renewable energy and can provide a cost-effective destination for increased German investments. Well, Malaysia has been recognized as the best country in Southeast Asia in the Energy Transition Index 2023 by the World Economic Forum. Well, besides the energy roadmap and NIMP, Tan emphasized that incentives to encourage Malaysia's quest to emerge as a global service hub will be an added sweetener for German firms to target Malaysia. Other sectors that hold promise for increased bilateral linkages include upskilling in small and medium-sized enterprises, transfer of engineering technologies, semiconductors, aerospace, and medical devices. Well, now Malaysia's trade performance in 2024 is expected to experience a strong rebound propelled by the projected upturn in global trade and the promising outlook for the global semiconductor industry. So in a research note today, Public Investment Bank Berhad anticipated Malaysia's trade to improve this year, supported by the expected global trade recovery and brighter prospects in electronics exports amid the tech cycle recovery. Furthermore, it said the country's reliance on the economic fortunes of major players such as the United States, China and the European Union would pose risks to ASEAN trade. Similarly, Kerana Research has retained its forecast of Malaysia's export growth this year at 9.4% on an expected turnaround in the electrical and electronics or E&E export and a demand recovery from China, particularly in the second half of 2024. Well, it said export growth would gradually improve in the coming months with a likely double-digit expansion by year-end, driven by a tech sector upturn in China's steady economic rebound, underpinned by the ongoing government stimulus. The research firm also expected a recovery in the manufacturing export-oriented sector alongside domestic demand growth driven by a lower unemployment rate and improving household income. Kerana Research has reiterated its market perform call on Malaysia Airports Holdings Berhad or MAHB following the new tariff revision, while noting that MAHB is a good proxy for the recovery of air travel and tourism locally, regionally and of course globally. So recently the airport operator signed new operating and land lease agreements with the government to extend its concession to manage 39 airports in the country for 45 years until 11 February year 2069. Kerana said the new terms for the operating agreements, or OA, mildly lighten MAHB's capital expenditure burden, but have no material impact on its earnings. Meanwhile, the research firm also expects business and leisure air travel to continue to recover throughout financial year 2024. Now, according to its in-house projection, tourist arrivals in Malaysia are expected to jump 35% to 27 million this year, consistent with Tourism Malaysia's projection to return to pre-pandemic levels in financial year 2024 from an estimated 20 million a year ago. Well, furthermore, tourist arrivals are expected to be boosted by the 30-day visa-free regime for Chinese and Indian visitors to Malaysia starting from December 2023, allowing inbound visitors 15 visa-free days between 1st December 2023 and 30th November 2024. Well, this, it said, should underpin growth in airport passengers throughout demand in 2024. Well, moving on, crude palm oil or CPO prices are anticipated to pull back to the 3,800 to 4,000 ringgit per tonne trading range in April 2024 from the current level of 4,250 ringgit per tonne. Malaysian Palm Oil Council or MPOC said this is due to the ample supply of soya beans from South America entering the global market from April onwards, as well as the gradual seasonal recovery of palm oil production in Malaysia. Well, MPOC, through a statement released today, said as the low season for palm oil production concludes in March, palm oil prices may begin to reflect the recovery in production and inventory levels in April and May, potentially capping palm oil prices. Additionally, the price premium of palm oil over soft oils continued to widen in March and have surpassed the prices of three major soft oils concurrently since February in the European market. So in terms of inventory, it said Malaysian palm oil stocks continued their downward trend in February 2024, dropping by 5% to 1.919 million tonnes, marking the lowest level of stocks registered since July 2023. Well, MPOC said it is unlikely that Malaysia's palm oil stocks will experience any growth in March due to robust domestic consumption, particularly during the Ramadan month, while production is not expected to increase until April and beyond. Japan's central bank has scrapped its negative interest rate as it finally began winding one of the world's most aggressive monetary easing programs. The Maverick policy, dating back to 2013, was aimed at jump-starting economic growth and inflation after the country's lost decades, quoted, of stagnant activity and prices in the world's number 4 economy. Well, it is its first increase in 17 years. Now, the Bank of Japan said it was lifting its short-term policy rate from negative 0.1% to between 0 and 0.1%. It said officials assess the virtuous cycle between wages and prices and judged it came in sight that the price stability target of 2% would be achieved in a sustainable and stable manner. Well, the bank also said it would call an end to other unorthodox policies, including its yield curve control program on bonds and the purchase of risks assets. Now, the Federal Reserve and other central banks yanked up rates to rein in galloping inflation after Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. But the Bank of Japan kept its main rate negative, as it has been since 2016. So raising the rate will make loans more expensive for consumers and businesses. Well, it will also increase Japan's bill for servicing the national debt, which at around 260% of national output is one of the world's highest. And while Japan was ending its negative rates regime, Australia's central bank held interest rates steady and watered down its tightening bias, signalling greater confidence that inflation is moving back to its target as the economy slows. So wrapping up its March policy meeting, the Reserve Bank of Australia, or RBA, kept rates at a 12-year high of 4.35% for a third straight meeting. The RBA board said the path of interest rates that will best ensure that inflation returns to target in a reasonable time frame remains uncertain, and the board is not ruling anything in or out. Governor Michelle Bullock declined to say whether policy has shifted to neutral, saying risks are finely balanced and push back immediate rate cuts. Data of the past 6 weeks suggests the previous policy tightening, which is with the benchmark rate up 425 basis points since May 2022, is working well to constrain demand. Inflation held at a 2-year low of 3.4% in January. The economy grew by a tepid 0.2% last quarter as household consumption flatlined and the jobless rate crept up to 4.1%, faster than the central bank had forecast. The RBA targets an inflation rate of between 2 and 3%. Well, China is ready to work with New Zealand to actively implement the upgraded version of the China-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, or FTA. Now, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said the two sides should launch negotiations on the negative list of service trade as soon as possible so as to push bilateral cooperation to a new level. Now, Wang said both sides should jointly safeguard free trade, oppose unilateralism and protectionism in the name of de-risking, build an open world economy and provide a good business environment for enterprises of the two countries. Well, the Chinese foreign minister said China-New Zealand relations maintain a leading position among China's relations with developed countries. And for his part, New Zealand Trade Minister Todd McClay said since the establishment of diplomatic ties between New Zealand and China, the bilateral cooperation has achieved fruitful results and brought important benefits to the two nations. Well, he said New Zealand is willing to work with China to further expand cooperation in economy, trade, and other fields and facilitate personnel exchanges. And that concludes this edition of Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, new scheme aimed at restructuring rice industry to be announced soon. Till then, I'm Mohammed Amin Carlos, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching.